what happens. Is it happening? I have the transcoder today? Yes, I do. Wow. Not bad. All right. This is stream number 435. I'm just continuing my work on the rewrite of my game client in Rust. And I'm almost done with the admin login sequence. So this is the part that's missing right now, that if we fail to connect with the server, there are two possibilities: that we got an authentication failure, which means that we shouldn't reconnect, or it could just be something else, in which case we do want to try to reconnect. So I'm going to be putting in that code today. So to kind of illustrate the problem, let's have our server up and running. And go over to our client. Reload that guy. So log in. So we see here we connected and authenticated, right? Now if I shut down the servers, it closes WebSockets, but it doesn't try to reconnect. So let's say it was a transient disconnection on the network, but the servers are still there. The client should be trying to reconnect right now. So we need to put that in. And the other thing to test is that if we get an authentication failure, it shouldn't try to reconnect. So authentication failure could be, hey there, Romania. Hey, it's going okay. How are you today? Authentication failure would be if I pick a different key, like the wrong key. For example, this one. Log in, and we get these bad authentication. So I added that last night after the stream, since it was super easy. So now right before disconnecting the client, the server will give a message saying authentication invalid, right? And so we want to use that message that we receive from the client as a hint that we should not try to reconnect to the server, and maybe put something up for the client saying that the server didn't accept the key, and we wouldn't want it to reattempt unless we changed the key. Actually, I guess I should put that in here. Allow another connection, allow further connection attempts only when a new key is selected. Yeah, I'm thinking, what if the server end was bad and I like fix the server end? On the client, I could just try again manually. But the normal case is that you just pick the wrong key, so pick a different one to try again. Good, chill, and have a bad headache? I'm sorry about that. Hope that headache goes away soon. Hope you're doing what you can to stay comfortable. Yeah, Yap13, hello. Okay, so first step here is to mark that we should not attempt a reconnection. So that's going to be part of the front end state. And I'm going to be looking at this playing state, right? Because this is where we kind of track the information about every server. I made another change since the last stream ended. I combined the host and port together into this server info structure, and I put it into a common crate called client configuration. Since we can share this with the server, right? The server is going to build these client configurations with server lists, and the server info is exactly what we need to be the key or the identifier for our server. I still want to have these integer keys because it's a lot quicker to search by integer key than to have to search by a string with another integer, right? It's just inefficient to do that. I had considered taking this server info and making it the key there. But yeah, I'm like, comparing strings is, or hashing strings is a lot slower than just hashing an integer, so I decided not to do that. Hey there, E squared. The cost of having these basically arbitrary keys that we manufacture on the fly is that to find a server, we still have to go through all the elements of the collection. But the advantage is that usually we're not doing that. Usually we are getting a callback about a WebSocket connection, and the callback includes the key. So it's a quick lookup to recover any other state we have. So here's where we're going to put the extra state. Bad key. Boolean, right? And I think we'll just initialize that to false. And if we get a bad authentication, then we'll set it to true, and we won't try to reconnect to that server until the key is changed. So where we handle the auth failure, so I added this last night too. This is where I'm going to want to update the realm server dot bad key is true, which means I need to make this get mutable. Hey there, Sarian. How are you? I'm honored that you all have chosen to watch me, whether it's in the background while you're doing your stuff or not. I'm very, very flattered that you would pick my channel. So let's continue. The bad key is what we want to use in the reconnection stuff. So we'll say that we're done so far because I'm going to use it in the next step, right? Reconnect to servers that if we lose the connection to, if no failure is indicated. So the reconnect logic. So to reconnect, we're going to want to like initiate a connection again whenever it's closed, right? Oh, I forgot this. Initialize bad key to false. All right, so the close happens where? Down here, closed. Okay, so if we still want to be talking to the server, we drop the WebSocket. And here's where I want to, I guess, trigger a message back to ourselves. Or actually, no, I guess we don't need to. We're already in the update, so I might as well just use the same function we used to connect to servers. Where was that? It's like start connecting to server. There we go. That's exactly what I want. I want to just put that down under closed. If realm server dot, if not bad key, right? Then self dot reconnect to server, realm server key. I'm actually surprised it let me do that when I had a mutable reference there. Huh, interesting. Because this also gets a mutable reference from realm server. Probably because we don't use realm server anymore after we check that. If I were to like duplicate this code, it would probably tell me I have a multi-borrow. Yeah, see there, now it's going to say cannot borrow it more than once at a time. Yeah, so but we only need to borrow it realm server up to there, and then we're going back to the key to reconnect. So, hey there, Mr. Balrog. If when, then else. Is that programmer humor? Self is special. Yeah, that too. Well, what I've come to understand with Rust is that when you call a method of an object, essentially it's doing a borrow for you, and then a borrow, any kind of borrow, a reference, will have a lifetime, right? If we don't specify it, the compiler figures out what the lifetime has to be, or what it can be, to make everything fit. So, for example, this self here is going to borrow it for as long as we hold on to, as long as this call in, and as long as the reference that we get back out, right? So as long as we're using this realm server variable, we're borrowing from self. But you can see the last use of it is here. So on this line, and then after the if, we're no longer borrowing from self. So we can borrow again from self here, right? But like I was showing earlier, if I copy that and try to do it a second time, the problem is we're using realm server here, but we need to borrow from self here. So it's going to say, hey, you can't borrow from it more than once. And it'll say the first borrow happened on line 237 here. Because we borrowed from self to call realm servers. That borrow got extended because it returned a reference that we used last down here, which is after we needed to borrow it again. But this is okay because the last use of this reference we got back is here. And so right after the last use, lifetime can be done, and so we can go and borrow again from self, and it's not overlapping. Hey there, Mr. Halsey. It's fun watching you today working on RTMP. If you're interested in other Rust streamers, Mr. Halsey's one of them, along with Togglebit, Ectondev, Musin. Mr. Halsey was working on RTMP from scratch, which I like, in Rust. The rules on when the compiler can shorten lifetimes to less than end of scope are also neat. Yeah, it's pretty dang cool, actually, but also kind of trips up newbies, because when I was learning, at least for me, when I learned that, oh, we're borrowing from self, I just assume we're only borrowing self for as long as the function call, right? But something like this, where you're going to get back a reference, and the reference is tied to the lifetime of the self because of something like that, that lifetime of that borrow is extended to however long you use that variable, or until the end of that scope. That's not something that's really intuitive for someone learning. At least that was my opinion. Fix the test, you're off by a byte? Yeah, that's what you thought it would be, and it sounded right to me. Either that, or you had done big endian by mistake, but I figured that it's more likely that just off by one. Because of scoping rules alone, the drop would have to be at the end of scope if the if let, but extra things let you do this. Yeah. I mean, you can manually drop. I can say drop realm server, and that's being explicit, right? Interesting. It won't let me do that there. Oh, that's because you can't drop a reference. Dropping a reference does nothing. Okay, okay, I didn't know that. I thought you could drop references too, so apparently you can't. You can only drop an own value. So references are just dropped for you, I guess, when you no longer need to use it. Aligning references for borrows are really nice, because otherwise it's a pain until you learn that. It does cause those newbies. Yeah, exactly. I would run into a multi-borrow issue, and I'd be like, I'm not borrowing it twice. What are you talking about? And it's because those lifetimes are being extended. Especially hairy when you talk about asynchronous functions, because then the lifetime is extended to potentially the static lifetime, in other words, forever, because the compiler doesn't know how long you're going to be running that future is going to exist, right? And so then you have to start being explicit, like, okay, this returns a future which is bounded by some lifetime, and so then, yeah, and it gets really nasty, really quick. Dropping references in no-op. Releasing a pointer does nothing unless it's a smart pointer. Yeah, the smart pointer is not a reference; it's an owned reference. No, that's not the right word. It's an owned object that holds a reference, and it's the object itself you would drop, and then the compiler figures out references. Yeah, see, I'm just demonstrating that I don't quite understand it 100%. That's fine. We're all still learning things, right? Okay, so when connection's closed, if it wasn't because of a bad key, we're going to initiate a reconnection. So this should be enough to cause this to reconnect if we lose the connection. Let me make sure the server's still running. Yeah. So I forget which key we were using. Let's forget the key, and let's just try with the right key. Not this one, but the one under the local host. Log in. Okay, we're logged in, and then I'm going to cut the cord to the server. And it should, yeah, see, now it's trying to reconnect, and see how it's getting errors. So it's every time it fails to connect, it's trying again. So try to start the server again, and it worked. So great, reconnection works as long as the key is good. Let's try with the bad key. So forget that and try a bad key. The bad key would be the other one, which is not matching, the one for the mail. Open that, log in, say closed, but it didn't try to reconnect, which is good. Good. And I'm assuming okay, actually, wait a minute. We don't clear that bad flag, so I'm going to have a problem where if I forget the key and... Actually, I just reloaded, so that invalidates. If we had a path to go back and forget the key and try again, I would have a problem where it won't reset those bad flags, right? Maybe to help test, I'll add a log out button for now. Yeah, let's do that. Should probably tell you that it's a bad key. Yeah, what I'm intending to do, because it's an admin feature, just like I do in the first version of the client, is if I couldn't connect, I would just go to this tab and it would show up as red. And here I might annotate it with like, or maybe just have an error log down here saying like, can't connect to server 1, 2, or 3 for whatever reason. You know, we say like bad key, or it would say, you know, unable to connect, something like that. For a normal user, it's different. It would be like this. where you'd have to go through a flow, like an OAuth flow or password flow, and then that has space already for showing an error message in this box. It'll say something like "can't connect to server," so we'll see it here. My admin flow is just a little bit different. Thank you for that follow. My admin flow, it just assumes you'll be able to log in, and then it just actively tries to stay connected to all the servers. So I have a special screen dedicated to that, so that's where I wanted to put the connection problems. So I haven't gotten that far yet. It just shows hello world right now. So the idea is that instead of saying hello world, we'd be able to see this, go to this tab, and it would be all in red and say something like bad key. That's the intent. All right. So I want to have some kind of way, just for testing right now, to go from the playing back to the sitting outside, kind of like a log out button. So let me add that in the view first. So yeah, this is going to be a fragment. Actually, I guess I can make it a div. With the string hello world followed by some kind of button, and let me find another button. Just take this so I don't have to re-type it all. Fix the indentation like this. Okay, so let's invent a new message, log out. Log out. LMNO, so log out goes there. All right, and then we'll have to add the arm for it. And I just realized I forgot to change the text for the button. We'll do that in a second. Log out. To do. Bookmark it so I don't lose track of it. Yeah, and let's say have it just say log out. All right. So now I should have a log out button when this builds again. Build, build, build. Log in. So now I have a log out button. It doesn't have to be pretty. I just need it there. So I want that log out button to change the state of the app, change the current activity back to sitting outside. So which means I'll need a prop because this will need to go back out to the parent, which is in charge of the current activity. It's part of its state, right? So probably similar to how I do the sitting outside getting an on login. Let's make an on log out for playing activity. On log out. Call back to log out. And here's where I'm like always indecisive. Is it log out, or is it log out? I don't know. I'll probably just maintain my inconsistency. Okay, yeah, I can't. It annoys me. I can't control click to find that. So but I can, once I find it here, I can do it. So log, just try to maintain consistency, but I'm not sure if I should capitalize the I and the O there. And then we'll need this to be in the prop list, since it's strongly typed, right? In the prop list for the playing activity. Props, here we go. So pub on log out. Similar to what we had in the sitting outside, right? It was a kind of a callback. A callback, and I don't need any argument for it, so it can just be empty, right? All right. And then that's what we're, I guess we got to import callback. That is what we're going to emit when we press the logout button. So right here, so it would be props.logout.emit unit. That should be good, right? And then up one level. What's wrong with this still? Oh, there's no argument for this, right? So I have to ignore the argument. There we go. And I'm probably missing another arm here, right? Yeah. Fill match arms, log out. Okay, so log out is self.current current activity is sitting outside. And we'll want to do what else? Actually, that might be all we need to do, because switching to sitting outside, it should deconstruct the playing activity, which held all the WebSockets, and so it should just disconnect them automatically. Okay, let's see if it works. Compiling. I should try with the key that works to make sure it disconnects correctly. So, back to a correct key. Log in, and then log out. Okay, it didn't deconstruct the playing activity, so it probably is going to reuse it, right? If I log in again, does it mean we have leaked some WebSockets then? Yeah, because it never closed the other ones. It was connected here, authenticated, but then authenticated again without ever closing it. I think we leaked the connections. Interesting. So I guess I just assumed that you would deconstruct a component that is removed from the virtual DOM, but I guess it doesn't. I'd like to know if it made a new one and leaked the old one, or if it reused the old one and I just don't have code to make sure that we don't reconnect again. Okay, there is a close. But we never logged it. Oh, we can't log it because the logging code in the client is in that component. So it did close them. With the 1005 means there's no status, there's no reason. So yeah, which makes sense because there's no reason that it could know to give. Okay, so except for the fact that we don't see in the log here, it actually does the right thing. It drops the WebSockets, and then when we log in again, it makes an entirely new one. Let me verify that. If I hit log out here... Oh, interesting. Okay, it did it, but it took it a couple seconds. Either that or there's a lag here. There might be a lag. Log in. Log out. Okay, yeah, it was just a lag. So it drops them immediately. Okay, so do I want to see a log message here? I guess I don't really care. Not too much. Let me try with the bad key. Bad key. All right. So then log out. Log in again. Okay, cool. So it must be constructing a new... Again, it must be constructing a new playing activity because the bad flag was... I never clear it, and yet it tried again when we connected, and it shouldn't. Actually, that's not. We're not using the bad flag. Okay, never mind. I need to double check something then. What if we log something every time it creates the component, just to verify that I'm understanding things correctly? Thank you for that follow. We'll just log whenever create is called here. Something like now playing or something. Here we go. We'll just say info now playing. Hi, Pasik. How are you doing? I had a fraction of a second, I had to stop myself from saying P4. Might be worth creating a key especially for testing bad keys. Well, that's what I'm treating the mail key for. It's also a test key, so I don't care if it leaks. I'm never going to use those in production. They have the word test attached to them. Okay, log in. It says now playing up here. Log out. Log in again. It says now playing again. Cool. So it's creating a new component every time. Nice to know. And I guess we could probably also track it in the drop. So if I implement a drop for this component and print something, right? It's too bad that their workflow doesn't... They have a create, but they don't have a delete. But we can leverage the drop trait, I think. Impl drop for playing activity. To just like info no longer playing. Yeah. Wasn't sure if it was, yeah, definitely not a real key. That would be super bad if I used the test key in production. Let's log in, log out, no longer playing. Okay, cool. So it is dropping immediately. It's not caching our component to reuse, which is an important thing for me to remember. Like, I think in React, sometimes it can cache the component and reuse it later. Here, it's definitely not. So I don't really need to see that. Let's delete it now. Knowing that, I don't think I actually ever need to clear the bad key flag. This bad key flag, because the only way to change the key is to log out, pick a different key, and log back in, which destroys this component and recreates it, right? So it's fine for this to only be set here and start out clear, I think. Yeah. All right. Hey there, Great Jack. How are you doing? So I can check this in now, right? Because this is done. And this is done too. This whole thing is done. So I'm done. I obviously have too little of a plan today because I'm already done and it's only been 26 minutes. That's fine. We can do some refactoring and maybe look into some WebGL today. Wouldn't that be fun? Yeah, done with the stream. The next thing I would probably need to do is, unless I do the non-admin, the normal player login mechanism, which I guess I could do, is we're going to need the WebGL stuff because that's one of the most important aspects of the client is showing the game world, right? And I'm not going to need a whole lot from WebGL. I just need to draw tiles, draw these tiles, and then it would be nice to have this overlay of text, but it's not critical to start with. And it'd also be nice to have the rotating sprites, but that's also not critical. So in the end, are you rewriting the entire game in Rust? Yes. But hopefully, once they get on a roll, it shouldn't be as much time to make their game initially, because I can use the original game as a blueprint, and a lot of the code actually probably transfer over pretty quickly. With the server connections and status info, like on the server page of the prod client, you could set up a proper admin info page. Well, that's what this was intended to be. Unless you're thinking about more or different information. Yeah. Hello, L. John CL. Yippers. Okay. Let's check it in. Get cola. You can do that info on the new front end. Yeah, the new front end gives me an opportunity to make it better this time. Hey, we logged in on our connected page. I suppose that, yeah, when we first connect to the game, it kind of makes sense to start on this tab, right? Start on this tab, and then it would show the progress of talking to the server, and then maybe we might have a log here. I don't know. And then we would, I would have to log out button. Actually, the log out button's global. You can't see it because I'm in front of it. But yeah, there's a log out button there. What's the stats on the cluster? Cluster's working great. Linux style top CPU. Oh yeah, that's sort of what I also wanted to have, but didn't put a whole lot of priority into it. Is on this cluster status to show CPU usage. Yeah, right now the stats are showing the round trip delay, minimum, average, and maximum for messages between servers. And this reset stats will clear it. But I found I don't really use these that much, and a more interesting stat would probably be CPU usage or something like that. Yeah, this is the delay between servers. But I do want a Linux style top CPU thing here. It just isn't that yet. Yeah. And so this is exactly where I want to put it. You have a barking dog in the background. My apologies. Don't know why she's barking. Bork, bork, bork. If it gets too annoying, I can do this. right? But maybe she won't be too annoying. Okay, so add log out button. This is like a prototype to aid in testing, because I don't really need it for development of the game yet. I'll need it later, but don't need it now, other than to test that re-login thing. Okay, so that's this actually. I wonder if I can just have that added as a separate commit. Let me see if I can do it. So stage, that line, but not that. I do want that. I don't need that. I do want these lines. So it's S if it's lines. Okay. I think I can, right? Because I don't need these other things. Oh, it still says thing. I should fix that. Also, I don't think I want this changed. This is where I was working on off stream, playing around with removing the label. Actually, I think I want to keep the label. So yeah, this is really just it for one commit. And this is the other one where we want to reconnect to servers unless key was bad. So bad key. We set it there. It starts out as false. We reconnect unless it was a bad key. That's exactly right. And this, I think I just want to revert this. Yeah, that's what I want. Alrighty. Yeah, thing. It's because I didn't know what it was when I was first working on that. I'm like, I don't know what it is. Something. She's a lot better about not freaking out as much as it seems. Yeah, she used to just like bark, 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 bark. Yep, she would go off a ton. She still will if someone like rings the doorbell. That's a definite trigger. But yeah, she's gotten a little bit more mellow about people walking by. Okay, where was that thing? Thing. Why did I call it thing? Admin key selected. Change data. Oh, but yeah, because I wasn't know what it was. It's a change data. Represents the change to a value of an element. So rather than calling it thing, let's call it change data. And I can get rid of this entire closure, right? It's redundant. It's a redundant closure. So there we go. A little micro refactoring. Remove unnecessary closure. Perfect. All right. I'm kind of interested to play around with WebGL today, since I'm done with my normal plan. But it's going to be a bit of reading, I think, a bit of tinkering around, and maybe not a whole lot of progress. Start learning and experimenting with a WebGL. That's odd how that works if you understand why it's neat. That you can pass, well, it's because it takes any kind of function, right? And that fits the type requirement. So you don't actually need a closure. It can go directly to the function. That's my understanding of it. That calling the type as like the constructor, so to speak, of the type works like a function if the argument is the same as the associated data for the variant. Hey there, Nui. How are you today? Tuple variants and tuple structs are functions. Yes, exactly. Hey there, LG. We just got done with the admin login stuff. I forgot to say hi to Grands and MetroDev. So happy to see me streaming again. Thank you, MetroDev. Okay. Yeah, the login system's complete. We can log in. If it's a bad key, we can log out, forget it, and re-engage the admin thing to pick a different key. Log in, it works. If the server were to get disconnected, it will try again until it succeeds, or we log out. Now it's logged in again, and then I can log out. I can, interesting, there's a bug there, right? Sometimes the admin thing stays there, and sometimes it disappears. I kind of think about that one. Anyway, if I pick a PEM that's not a private key, this I worked on last night, it'll actually tell me it can't import it, and if it's not even a PEM file, it'll say you can't even load it. But you can retry to your heart's content until it succeeds and connect again. Probably made it easier to parse. Yes. Yep, looks like a function, quacks like a function. Why not make it a function? Exactly. Which means you can do fun things like casting it to i32, get normal values, 0, 2, 0, 1, 2, 3. Interesting. Why allow bad keys to log in? Well, the client doesn't know it's bad until the server verifies the signature and says it doesn't match. So there's really no way for the client to know if a key is good or bad unless it's not the correct kind of key. So if it's like a public key, it'll be like it can't import it as a private key, right? Or if it's not even the right format, it'll say can't even load it. But if it's a valid private key, the client doesn't know if it's valid yet. So it was like, okay, we have the key, we don't know if it's valid yet. Let's try to use it. And the server says no, bad response. So it's like, okay, it's a bad key. Yeah. Unless it's not a key, the client can't know. Yeah, pretty much. And who knows? Maybe the key is valid, but I just screwed up on the server end. So what I would do is go change the server and then log out and log in again, and it might work, right? So that's as good as the client can do. Let's forget it. There is a bug there where it completely goes away and I have to reload. I would like to track that down, but I'm not sure where to start. Is it if I forget it? Okay, that's not it. I'm wondering is it if I log out and then forget? No, it's still there. So what was it that... Oh, I think I know what it was. It was if I had one in local storage, then reload, it's still in local storage, and I forget it. Yeah, that's what it is. So if we happen to have a key in local storage and I forget, the input goes away completely. Let me fix that, because I think I would rather it not go away, because it's kind of annoying, because I have to go up here and type admin again to get it back. Let me fix that. That has to do with the flag that we set up in the top level, right? This force admin key tools. So it's only true if the search had it in there. I think we also want it to be true if there was a key in local storage, right? Where do we do the local storage stuff? Storage. Oh, it's not even in the main top, in the top level. It's in the outside activity, right? Yeah. Makes it a little bit complicated. This does have a key. I'm wondering if I should have the local storage load happen and save happen at this level and not at this level. So in other words, do this at the top level in create, and then it would be passed down, the key would be passed down as an actual prop and not be in the state here. So I have to decide where is the single source of truth for the key. Right now it's moving between activities, really, right? It's going to start in the sitting outside activity, and when you hit the login button, then it goes up to the top level and sits here and gets given a copy gets given to the playing activity, so that if you log out, you still have the key and you can log in again, right? Maybe this should be where the key starts and not sitting outside. And sitting outside should just get a copy of the key as well. It's just going to be a little bit more complicated because forgetting the key is a little bit more than, where is it? Forgetting the key is more than just this. We also have to do a callback to the top level to have it forget the key as well. Actually, I do have a problem even with the way it is right now, because if we hit forget key, this will be set to none, but it'll still be up here. Yeah, okay. Then I think I would rather it not be held in the state of sitting outside activity. I think it should be a prop. Yes, hello, Rambane. How are you doing? And also not Lord Byron. Admittedly out of the loop, why a private key over client cert or something else? It's a private key because I want to restrict who can log in as an admin. So it's sort of in reverse of what you'd have with the server. Instead of the server proving they are who they say they are, it's the client proving they are who they say they are. And sure, I could do it with a certificate instead of a private key. You can sign with either one, but it just seems simpler to me to say, if you want to be an admin, generate a key pair and give me your public key, and then I put that on the server, and then you privately use your private key to sign challenges. So yeah, we could do it with the certificate too. It's just then the certificate would take the place of the public key, right? You would still you still have to load your private key on the client side, even if you use a certificate, right? Unless I'm not understanding if there's a second way to do it. It'd be effectively the same function. But you'd still want to have a private key, right, on the side that's doing the side that's going to be given the trust. PKI is done in the browser. Yeah, so my stuff is done in the browser too. I did that on Tuesday. That's I made a nice set of utilities for that. So there's the loading the key. It's done with subtle in the browser, the browser's crypto library, and the signing is also done with crypto subtle. Yep, we're using the in-browser stuff. So yeah, I guess you could do the same thing with a certificate. Client certs can be stored offline if you're really concerned about security. It's effectively what I'm doing with the private key, is it's being stored offline. It's never transmitted online. If I'm understanding you right, but yeah. They're just different ways of doing the same thing, right? Okay, I guess it's sort of a nitpick, but I think I will move the admin key from state to prop. So that moves into the props. Like that. And then just the consequences of moving into the prop will be a lot of compiler errors, which will guide us to make the necessary changes. So that means it's no longer there. And when we parse it, we don't want to just replace it. We want to give it to the what am I trying to say? Give it to the parent. So that means we need to have another prop to update it. So like this. Actually, that would change the login, because the login doesn't need to pass the key anymore, right? So the login would just be do it. And but we need to have another key that to actually pass it back. So on admin key loaded, I guess. And then on login as admin would just be just use the key that you have. Yeah, let's do that. And F comes before A, or it comes after A and before O. Cold storage even? That's neither probably overkill. Oh yeah, I had that in my notes at one point to, instead of having a private key file, to use the YubiKey smart card stuff. And I have no idea what the level of support is for that in Rust or in WebAssembly. It would be kind of cool to look into. I would actually need to purchase one of those YubiKeys first, though. Doesn't rely on having a CA setup. Yeah, I mean, anyone can generate a key pair. And these days, it's not too hard to teach someone how to do that and to send you their public key. And you just teach them, don't ever transmit the private key, keep it safe. Wonder if WebAuth would be an option? Maybe. Okay, so I don't do that anymore. Instead, we're going to do self.props.on admin key loaded.emit admin key. Which means I can, well, I guess I can keep those separate. And I don't need to set should render because calling that should cause the prop to cause the admin key to go up the tree and then back down and back into its prop as a change right here. So we'll have to handle a change. This we need to do, right? So let's just assume we always need to re-render if our props change. Self.props equal props. That'll include the admin key as well. I don't know how to do cold storage. I don't know anything about that. Okay, so forget the admin key. Oh, do we want another prop for that? I guess so. How about on drop admin key? Callback with no arguments. So you can see there's going to be a bit more props because we're making the admin key a little bit more remote. It's now something that's technically owned by the, not technically, conceptually owned by the top of the tree, the main app, not by this activity anymore. So instead of doing that, we have to do self.props.on drop admin key emit unit. And again, I don't need to render again. Okay, so login. So that's self-props admin key. And we don't need to give the key because it should have it. Which means really I don't even need to do that. We can just tell the topple, hey, if you have a key, log in. So in one respect, it makes it a little bit simpler, right? Can I make that shorter? I can, look at that. Why not? Actually, that looks better to my eyes because it meshes well with the other arms. Okay, so then view, it's props and props. I still want both of these because there are still three possibilities. Either don't show it because we don't have it. Don't show it because don't show it because we don't have it and we're not supposed to show the input. Show it because we have the key, or show the input because although we don't have a key, we're supposed to force it. This is all good, right? I guess I could, there was a technique I saw in the U examples where this is really just a forwarding to that, especially when I move this out, this is going to move. When we're just forwarding it, we can use, thank you for that follow. We can use, there's a shortcut in U. Let me find that. I can go to libs and I can type in U and I can click on U and go to the GitHub, and from there I can go to examples, and it was what was it? It was nested list and source. Was it list? Let me think. I think it was header actually. Yes, it was called reform. So I could make a I could reform a callback to make it to basically put it directly into this virtual DOM. I think. Yeah. Let's see if I can do that. So then I don't really need to have this login one, right? Because it's really, we really just want to have it go straight to that, right? So I can just say this is self.props.on login as admin.reform. Ignoring the argument, and just do a unit, right? Actually, does this need a closure? I think it does need a closure, so I need to do something like that. Yeah, so that worked, right? I think it works, otherwise we would see a red squiggly here. Yeah, so that'll work. So I don't need this forget, or this login as admin, because now that's handled by the top level, so I don't need that. Note that as someone who does AppSec pen testing, there isn't a huge difference between a key and a password other than key length. If I'm in a position where I can compromise your password, chances are I can compromise a public key too. But that doesn't make sense. Public key is not a password. Public key is what you use to verify that the holder of the password is the holder actually has the right password. Oh, private key. Yeah. Sure. They're the same. Well, except for that private keys are not transmitted and passwords are, usually. Usually, with the password, the server has to hash the password and compare the I guess no. I guess the client could hash it, right? And you send the hash of the password. Actually, that is a difference, right? With the password, you either have to send the password or the hash of the password. The private key, you don't. Doesn't make much of it? You don't think so? I would think that the private key would be more secure because you never have to send any secret. So you don't send the password, you don't send the hash of the password. You just send a signature, which anybody, you can broadcast that signature. It doesn't let anyone else use it, because as long as the server, the signature was signing something which is only used once, a number used once. Threat models you built against the client and server compromise. You can send hashes, yeah, as long as you know the salt. Oh yeah, that was the difference, right? If the salt stays on the server, then you have to send the password in the clear to the server, which could be a problem, right? Man in the middle. Which is why, for that kind of stuff anyway, I use, I have the whole thing over SSL. So that's yet another private public, or yet another key exchange that goes on for you. Yeah, for a different reason, right? That's to encrypt it, whereas I'm using cryptography right in the login thing to authenticate, which is slightly different. Man in the middle against HTTPS. Yeah, they'd have to break the key exchange for SSL. I'm thinking like if you have a server that's not SSL'd and you wanted to make it more secure, sending a signature would be a little bit better than sending the password, because it's fine to send a signature. You can't hack you can't get the private key from the signature. You'd have to basically reverse. You'd have to brute force it, or I guess if you found a way to reverse engineer RSA, XSS could compromise your private key, retrieving it from local storage. Yeah, that you'd be screwed anyways. I'm thinking more of like on the wire. Someone has a Snoopy router in the middle, and you can't use SSL for some reason. A signature would be a little bit better than a password. Okay. Let me fix these other errors before I get much further, right? This is missing a whole bunch of props. Force on. Okay, we need to have admin key. that's just this, right? And then I need on admin key loaded. Self, link, callback, message. Do I need to make a new one? Yes, I do. I don't know. Set admin key. Well, just call it admin key loaded. And then drop. Callback, message, drop admin key. All right, so I need to add these. Drop admin key. And admin key loaded. Okay, fill match arms, please. I love that fill match arms thing. So this will just store it, right? Self dot admin key. Oh, I forgot to put the argument in there. Yeah, this moved to here, right? Right. So this moves to here. Actually, it's this code down here. Oh, I keep hitting the wrong key. It's so embarrassing. Okay, and this doesn't need to replace it. It just changes the activity. Are you rate the security of 2FA? If done right, non-SMS is probably the single most effective. Yeah, I agree. It's I kind of it's like kind of like a disappointment to me whenever an online service has two-factor authentication but insists on doing it the old SMS way, because it's lame. I did two-factor authentication here on stream, like, was it 2 years ago? It only took me a few days. It's literally just taking a one-time password. Well, it's literally just generating a one-time password, right? Using a shared secret that you establish once between you and the server and the client, and you're taking like a timestamp along with that secret and hashing it. I mean, it's not that hard. I laugh because maybe it does seem hard for some people, but if you have the hash function and you understand how to use it, then it's really pretty straightforward. Drop admin key should just say self.admin key equals none. You lead a blue team. Are you red team or blue team? You bypass it because someone screenshotted their QR codes. Yeah, that's something not everyone knows, is that if you happen to like get a peek at someone's QR code and then you write down the time, the exact time of day down to the second, and you do that a few times, you can figure out what their shared secret is, conceivably. So whenever you're that's why you kind of don't want anyone to peek at those one-time passwords, especially if they can do it and easily get the time of day. All right. Where am I? Oh, down here. Okay, what am I getting wrong here? Would you please tell me? 177.62. Here, didn't like this. Did I misspell drop admin key? Okay, maybe the type is wrong. No, that's the right type. I wonder if it has to do with the unit here. Does this have to like... Oh, I know what it is. It's because I can no longer get rid of the closure. I have to provide a closure to eat the event. Like that. Yeah, there we go. Fixed it. Right, that's fine. Was that it? I thought it would be more work than that. Apparently not, though. Oh, I wanted to move the local storage to the top because that makes it easier for me to fix the flaw I saw before. Thank you for the follow. You like to get into security, but you're just a filthy JavaScript developer? They're orthogonal, aren't they? You can be both a filthy JavaScript developer and a security expert. Okay, so removing the private key. Oh, shoot. Oh, right. We don't give it to the top of the app unless it's valid. So here we don't need to remove it because we should never have set it in the first place, right? Oh, no, there's another problem. Shoot, I just realized. Yeah. This is going to store the PEM. So before we parsed it. So I'm going to want to hold on to that to pass up here. Because we want to use one and cache the other. So in the message, yeah, here. So this should be PEM string key that, and it doesn't need to be reference counted at this level, right? Because the top level owns it. There we go. So this is PEM and key. Technically, K comes before P, right? I lost my place. Let's find it again. There we are. Replace key. And then with the PEM, we want to do the local storage part. So this. Import. And this should be RC new. Import that. Cool. So now the top level app is the one that stores it when it gets loaded. So then I don't need to do it here. Which actually fixes another code smell, which is that this message could actually tell us about a failure, but we're storing it anyway. So it's possible we store it and then immediately delete it because it was an error. So this actually makes me feel better about that. So we're not storing it until it's successfully loaded here, or loaded and parsed. So then I don't need to remove it here, which is nice. Let me catch up in chat. Hey there, Yeet. You made a website for projects. Can you share a link? Is it relevant to what we're doing here? I have a Discord you can use if you want to share your work there. Is your website for projects like related to what I'm doing, or is it totally different? If it's relevant to what we're talking about, that's fine. But if it's like other stuff, I have a Discord for that kind of thing. That you're welcome to. There's a channel there for show and tell. I think I do have a show and tell, don't I? Yeah, I have a show and tell channel on my Discord for that kind of thing. Hey there, Ootsby. WebAuth. There's, oh yeah, I do want to cache that kind of stuff in my notebook. Thank you, A squared. General rule here is that like I'm gonna kind of try to keep things relevant to what I'm doing. But I'm okay if you go off topic a little bit, but like we can't get into the weeds with like totally irrelevant things that you know, I appreciate you want to share them, you're excited about it, but that's sort of what the Discord is for instead. Let me give A squared a point for that. Oh no, C. Are you getting yourself into C? There's nothing wrong with C. C is like battle tested and hardened and venerable and respectable. You like how 50% goes no C and 50% goes yay C? I like C. I have a special place in my heart for C. That's okay, Lord Byron. It's still semi on topic because we were talking about security, and that's fine. I just don't want. It's hard when it's really hard for me when I'm working on one kind of thing and then chat goes way off into the weeds talking about something else, because then I can no longer stay engaged with chat, and then it's like there's really two different things going on and it can confuse viewers. So it's still good discussions, but it's like hard for us to keep both going in parallel. It's like now we're doing two things. We're talking about subject A and we're working on subject B, and it's just really tough. Low-level languages of manual memory management scare you? You'll get over that fear when you just try it out. You know, that's just fear of the unknown, I think. Yeah, you can do it. Yeah. C, C++ just too easy to do the wrong thing. Rust is better. I see it as a matter of perspective above Siegel, and hey, how are you doing? But the perspective can change if, like, you're talking about harder to get compiling versus harder to get running. You know, I think the trade-offs between the languages are, where do you want to spend your time? Learning the language and fighting the compiler, or just get something going and maybe part of it works, but you have some bugs you have to debug. So it's just a trade-off, in my opinion. All right, so then I'm rooting down where all the local storage happens, right? Storage. So basically, sitting outside shouldn't deal with this anymore. This should just emit that prop, which means I'll want to make it just a whatever they called it, a re something. It's drop admin key that will do this. So I don't do it here. And so I'm going to just chain the callback here. Where is it? This one, reform, that's what they called it. So instead of doing a callback to our cells, we're going to do a reform. Like that. And that means I don't need that message at all anymore. Forget, right? Which means we can delete it. And so there shouldn't be any more local storage stuff here. Okay, there still is. Yeah, I wanted to move this, right? I wanted this to move to the top level, create. Create, here it is. Yeah, I want to do it here. I suppose it doesn't matter where I put it, so I will put it here, I guess. And, oh, I'm going to want to move the loading of the admin key to the top two. Yes. Okay, so it's a little bit more complicated than I thought it would be. Anyway, yeah, this doesn't need to be done, which cleans this up because I don't need this self anymore. I mean, I don't need the this anymore. Everything is pros and cons, yeah. Do you want to debug seg faults or bar checkers? Yeah, so pick what's fun for you. Or you can go really hardcore and go unsafe Rust. And hello, Epic Unknown. How are you doing today? Forgot to say hello to a few other people. Hit the wrong key just now. Judge Judy said Rust. Yep. Hi, Judge Judy. That was like 5-10 minutes ago. I missed it. Hello. We are indeed programming in Rust today. And also Radon90 I forgot to say hi to. That was even longer ago. Sorry about that. Just a thing I do where I wave to people who talk in chat, and I just forgot a few people. Thank you for that follow. Love creating your own little tools in Rust, so many random CLI tools. I like recreating stuff too. I feel like I learn things a lot better when I do things from scratch. Yeah, like doing WebSockets myself. That's a ton of fun. And I think I am going to follow A Squared's, what's the word? Hint? That it would be nice to have a YouTube video covering WebSockets. I think I'm going to do that, actually. Okay, so where we drop in the file is up here, right? Yeah, so I want to move that up a level now, which means this is going to belong to the top level also. So why don't I just... Okay, one thing at a time. Yeah, we're not going to do an on admin key loader. We're going to do an on admin key... Oh, no, that is the name I want. There's two stages. There's two stages, right? Loading it and then parsing it or importing it. And that's the right name, but we're doing it in the wrong place. So I want to move that to here. And not do that. And emit the PEM directly. So that callback is not an RC crypto key, it's a string. Yeah, that's what I want. That means the top level is going to have to deal with the error also, right? Yeah. That's fine. It means the error will have to be owned one level up too. It's probably for the best. We'll have other kinds of errors anyway. It makes sense. So, yeah, what's the next step? I don't need to do this parsed here. Let me not delete it though. I think I'm going to want it at this level. Okay, yeah, this goes back to just being the string. Okay, yeah, that's what I want. Thank you for that follow. So our loaded is really just taking it out of the change data and right, asynchronously reading it, and when it's done, we're in charge of converting it to a string and then handing it up. That makes sense to me. So this we don't do anymore. So I can delete parsed because I moved that, right? Hey there, 2 sounds, 1 movie. Doing pretty well. How are you? All right. Yeah, this moves now to the top level. So, impl model. Model is I haven't renamed that yet. It really should be like application or something. The very top level of the application. So this is a utility I made. All right, so it's going to take the privacy enhanced mail format of the key and run it through this asynchronous thing, calling us back on this message. So I just need to move the handling of that message, I think. This doesn't need it anymore. Oh, I deleted something here, right? Yeah. I want that actually. How do I get that back? Revert change. There we go. That actually didn't do what I wanted it to do. I reverted the wrong change. I want this one. Revert that change. Yes. I just want to copy these two, because these really go at the top level here. admin key loaded, parsed. Okay, and this is just a PEM. Right, and so if I hold on to that PEM, I can delay the storage until we parse it. Do I delay it and hold on to the PEM? Wait a minute. This is the wrong code, isn't it? Shoot. Clicking that button and... Okay, it took me a while to click that, but where's the... Here it is. I want to do this. Well, I know how to type that. I can type that. So this would be self load key PEM there. Maybe I'll just keep this the way it is. So I would have to then remove it if there's an error. Yes. And yeah, we don't have to render on admin key loaded, right? So let's use the same pattern. Let should render, and then set it to true if we do. Actually, I guess I guess the default could be that yes, we should render, and then turn it off when we don't, which would be right here. Valgrind can catch stuff? Yeah. Nui's one of the people who are always trying to push me to use tools like Valgrind. Oh, you're directing it to A squared? Yeah. That's fine. The guy recently that posted a Rickroll disguised as a free Nitro link? Interesting. Did you delete the enum variant? Maybe, maybe not. If I didn't, it'll probably show up as a warning that I don't need it anymore. Or unless you're talking about, like, did I accidentally? And yeah, maybe. This is a little bit scrambled right now. Let me try to focus and fix it. If it's loaded, this shouldn't be called load. This should really be called parse admin key. Do I call that from more than one place? I don't even know. Why did I bother having this as function? This is only 3 lines, right? I don't even think I need that. I can just do that directly. So I can do away with that function call and get rid of this. It's just not big enough to warrant its own method, right? So I don't need to PEM into. So yeah, parse it asynchronously. Here's the callback, and in the meantime, let's store it too, right? And we don't need to render because we have nothing to show yet. If it gets parsed successfully, we're going to store it. We're going to put into a reference counted wrapper and store it, right? If it didn't get parsed correctly, here's where I need to have an error, actually. Error, optional string. Error none. This should be, oh, that's why I had, okay. Now I know why I had a function, because, yeah, this is parse. I call it from 2 places. Yeah, there's a reason why I did it that way. Okay, yeah, that's why I had this, this. Okay. So, like, move all this junk then. This, let mute this equals self. Yeah, I need that back again. I guess I can get it back from here. Yes, revert that. And we're gonna just move it back here. This is parse. And I don't think that belongs there. It should just be that, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's good. All right, so then the parse is down. That's mute. So this should just be self.parseAdMeKeyPem. And also store it, because this, if we already have it, we don't need to store it again. Right, this is just borrow it. Okay. So then whether we're doing it during construction, because we have it, we restored it, or whether it was just loaded, we're going to try to parse it. If it's parsed successfully, we store it here. If it's not parsed correctly, we do an error and we clear the storage. This is a little bit of an ugly thing where we store it optimistically, but if we got an error, we have to then remove it. The alternative would be we hold on to an owned copy of PEM and then only store it in here if it's parsed successfully. Okay, drop is to drop it and remove it. That's fine. Okay, so then then it gets just passed down the props to the other guy, right? So ready to test? All right. Let's load a completely bad key. Okay, yeah, I don't have the error showing up. All right. The error is right here, and it's not used, right? Yeah, so I think this needs to go up a level as well. So take it from here and put it in here. Where exactly? Actually, no, let me leave it there, and let's just make it a prop. Yeah, I like that. So props will have an error. Okay. Props. Okay, and then it's no longer part of our state. Oh, I didn't do that right. This should be an option. Yep. All right. And then it's not in our state anymore. I need to remember to do that when it's loaded. So at the top level when we're loading, we're going to clear our error. Right here, right? So this should say, this should do that. Where else do I have error mentioned here? I can delete some of this stuff now, right? It's a prop. It's just passed on there. Okay, so then here we just include it. Error equals self.error. Actually, do I need braces around these things? Maybe I do. No, it's something else. Option string doesn't implement clone. Okay, clone. I don't think I need these braces because I didn't need them up here. Yeah, I didn't need those braces. Okay, cool. And what else? Well, it looks good to me. Let's try it out. Stop and reload. Ah, sorry. Bad key. Cool. Valid PEM, but not a private key. Cool. Valid key. Great. So then log in, log out, log in again if we want, log out, forget the key. Oh, I wanted to reload. So reload at this point and then forget. Okay, yeah, still haven't fixed the original problem. But now it's easier for me to fix that. Let me try a key that is the wrong key. So we can load it, but we can't connect with it. But I can try again if I log out and try again. Okay, that's what I want. Just go back to the right key, because I want it to be there. Okay, so then the problem is reload and doesn't show the input anymore. So that has to do with our decision at the top level about whether to force admin key tools. So now that can become, it's either that or we have a key, right? So this can just say this dot force is true. That should fix it, right? U is pronounced as Jew. Yeah, U, as in Y-O-U. And U is a kind of tree. So if you just did a search on U, you'll probably see a bunch of trees. Yeah. Bunch of trees, right? So if you're going to search for it, do U Rust. And that narrows it down a bit. To the WebAssembly front-end web app framework I'm using today. All right, so then I should only have to do this once now, and now it should just remember, as long as I load something. Now if I reload, and I forget, it's still here. In order to get it permanently gone, I would have to forget and then reload. Yeah, that's exactly what I want. Perfect. Saw a job description with you recently? Really? Because it's not that old of a framework, right? There are already jobs around it? I contributed to you a little bit last week. I fixed a few bugs. There was a bug in dropping a WebSocket before it finished connecting, and then there's another bug in their continuous integration. They were using Chrome, and we're trying to do a same origin fetch, but they weren't using the right policy that changed last summer in Chrome. Isn't JS fast enough already? Yeah, but JS isn't Rust, and I like Rust. What's the point of front ends written in WebAssembly though? The point is then you can program it in a language that compiles to WebAssembly. That's the point. So I'm not doing this because I like WebAssembly. I'm doing this because I like Rust. And I'm like, it'd be kind of fun to program both the front end and the back end in Rust. And this feature is done. So that means the sitting outside activity is going to be a lot simpler, right? It shouldn't have a whole lot. It's really just showing in the UI the actually, do I even need... I don't even need that, do I? That's probably redundant now. Well, yeah, we don't actually need it. Let me make this even simpler. This should be like have admin key, which is a bool. Right? Because we don't actually need the key in this activity. So then this just gets simplified to props have admin key. Because that's the only place we ever used it. And then we don't need to use RC or crypto key, right? And then at this top level, the only thing that should change is down here. Instead of cloning the key for them, we just says have admin key equals self dot admin key dot is sum. Yeah, perfect. You don't need to, so that removes an unnecessary clone. So yeah, this sitting outside should be pretty simple. It can show an error message. It can show the admin tools. It knows whether or not we have an admin key, but otherwise it's just able to tell the top level to do things like load an admin key from a PIM that we have, drop it or log in. That's probably all I want. And then, right, if you select a file and then we get the file data, these I'm not using, but I'll be using later. So we're still, the sitting outside activity is still in charge of reading the file, which is fine. So that's why we have going from selected to reading the file, we're using a reader service. I could move that to the top level too, but why bother? The top level doesn't care about it. This is just, the whole point is to just either you have a PEM string or you don't. And once you get a PEM string, you give it to the top level. All right, and then, do I still need this should render? I think the default ought to be true, and we should opt out of it. So that means we're opting out because we know when we load a key, it doesn't change any of our UI. Because we're really just forwarding it on to the parent, right? In fact, I could go one step further and have this be in the, I keep forgetting the name of it. Down here, right? Reform. That's probably the better way to do this, right? If I just reform the click handler, the onChange handler here, then I don't even need to have this message at all. Oh, wait a minute. No, I do. I need to have this. Oh, wait. No, I could, instead of doing a callback, I could do a reform here. That's what I should do. Yes. So instead of self-link callback, it should be self-props.onAdmin. Why isn't it not working for me? Oh, can I not use self inside here? No, I can. Why is it giving me trouble? Dot reform, yeah. Exactly. So this goes here. And then with that PEM, we just say, actually, I can just remove this, right? And just do that. Oh, we need a string. Okay, so I need the into owned part. File data is what type? Oh, it doesn't know the type. Shouldn't it know that? Oh, it's too much indirection. Yeah. We get back a file data. Yes. Whatever it knows the type to be up here. File data. Now it's happy, so I can get rid of this state, and then I can get, so then I don't need this anymore, right? This is just true. Always re-render. I think. Actually, wait a minute. This is asynchronous, right? So this technically doesn't need to re-render, right? Yeah, okay, so we can put that back because this technically does not need to re-render. And then I can get rid of another one here. Cool. So then the only message we need is because this is actually having us do work. And because we're doing it asynchronously, it's not going to change the view right away so we don't render. I like it. I like this a lot better. I should probably test it one more time before I check it in. The fat arrow looks good in the text editor. Oh yeah, these. That's because of the font ligatures. So I turn them off. Turn font ligatures off. It's just equals greater than, right? They've kind of grown on me. It just kind of looks. It's one of those things that helps keep me happy in a tiny way. It keeps me motivated to program. Because I think in my head, should I program today? Oh, I'll get to see those nifty little arrows if I do. There we go. It's the little things that count. All right. Oh, this problem again, where it gets out of sync with what files it should serve. So I need to like when that happens, I have learned I need just to rerun Webpack. Yeah, I'm using Fira code. There should be a command for that. Font with ligatures enabled. Yeah. All right. Cool. Remember my key. If I forget it, I can choose it again. Cool. And the last piece of work I did just to verify that, I just tested it, right? It was the, when the file is selected. So, okay, great, it works. Reload that. So this is, two things. Move admin key parsing up to the top level. And then the other one was always show admin key input UI. Well, show admin key UI if an admin key was present in local storage when the app was created. That's the other thing I did. Should I double check to make sure there are no yellow lines in lib? There are a few, but these are the ones I want to keep. Just scanning to see that there aren't any things I can delete. Yeah, okay, looks good. So this is refactoring of admin key handling. Commit. Push. Okay, now I can have some fun with some WebGL, I think. Okay, I know very, very little about WebGL. I need to have a stage ready. So the idea was that instead of saying hello world here, we'd actually show the stage like we'd do in the production. The stage is just this red square in which we're going to use WebGL to draw these tiles. And I don't know if I'll get the tiles today done, but I want to at least have that red square to bring over the HTML and CSS for that. So I need to refer to the original version in JavaScript for that. And that had a similar architecture, right? It has views, activities, playing activity. Yes, so it had this div structure, the playing div, and then world chat had the world, and then the tabs with the chat inside, right? So minimally, I want that much of the structure here, down here. So let me just copy this. Yoink. Actually, maybe I can put the log out button where it should go. Okay, hold on. I need to go for just a second. I'll be right back. All right, sorry about that. I think it's this bottom bar that had the log out. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so here, the log out button had a little bit more elaborate structure to it. So it goes here. So that button goes, is replaced by the, well, let's just replace the click handler. Yep. Okay, so it's that. Actually, can you encode that directly? I guess we can see if it does. Thank you for that follow. I appreciate it. So that replaces my older div and logout button, right? And then this structure is not balanced. That is missing its end div. This also is missing its end div, right? And we'll add this back later, but right now it's just going to be the logout button. Opening. Okay, so I'm missing some structure here again. Div, end of that one, beginning of, oh, that's the problem. Yep. That was it. Okay, class name becomes just class. Okay, I don't know. Let's check if I have these things in the CSS. I have button dangerous, that's good. I probably don't have all these classes because they're probably in the what am I trying to say? They're probably side by side with the playing activity. Yeah, they're probably here. Okay, so I should just grab all this stuff. Right, just grab all this and merge it into the main CSS for now. I'll have to go through and sort this later. I think I wanted to put it right here. Okay. I'll have to clean up and sort through this later. Okay, what does that look like now? Okay, getting there. The NBSP stayed. Oh, shoot. So how do I do an NBSP in HTML in U? That's interesting that it shows it. Oh, you guys can't even see it. There we go. It actually shows it there, but I don't think that it's literally there. Yeah, I don't think it actually is. I think it's escaped in the actual DOM. I don't know. I'm guessing maybe you do something like this. Can I do that? No. How do I do one of these? I forgot the term for it. Because if I just do a space, it won't be a non-breaking space. Go ahead, you can do it. Reload. You can do it. Yeah, there we go. I don't think this is going to be a non-breaking space, yeah. Which I guess is not that big deal right now, but that's what I want to avoid. Log out. I want it to be a non-breaking. There's got to be a way to do this in U. U, non-breaking space. Again, I got to do Rust. See, that's the problem with U, is that not enough people are using it to actually get a lot of search results on it. Yeah, I want to, what's the term for that? HTML non-breaking space, like a character element or something? Character entity. So I guess a better search would be U Rust character entity. Must include character entity. I don't think that's going to the right thing. Hey there, Resubaka. HTML entities, yeah. But that's what I had, LG, and it wasn't working. I just did that. Unless you're thinking that I need to do this. But it was putting that as if it was being escaped in the rendering. See? So it's not supposed to be showing up like that. It's supposed to be one entity, not. It's doing it as if I did that, right? Or amp, right? It's doing it as it's escaping that. I want it to not escape that. Oh, no problem, LG. And hey there, Papadas del Papa. How are you today? And Veranos, I forgot to say hi to you, and also Milou, hello. Forgot to say hi. So So, gosh, where would I search for this? Something's popped into mind, like I could go to the Discord and search, see if someone else has asked there. I could go to their Git repo and look for issues there. Maybe check their Git repo really quick. Issues. Entity. Oh, you found it? How come my search didn't find it? 405, huh? Can I just type 405? So they didn't use the word entity anywhere in here? Oh. Wait a minute. I don't like the word. I don't like when it says presumably. Really? Okay. That's sort of odd, but sure, I can go with that. So, that. All right. So do they translate that to non-breaking space? That's interesting. I mean, yeah, but is it working the way? Oh yeah, it is. Look at that. It replaced it with a NBSP. How do I descend into that? I guess I can't. Yeah, but it says NBSP now. So it translated it at some level. Yeah, but I guess I didn't expect Rust to take the Unicode character for non-break space and then transcode it to the HTML entity non-breaking space. I didn't expect that. But okay, cool. I'll go with it. I learn something new every day, right? Greetings, program C17R. I just learned that to do a non-breaking space in U, you have to actually use the Unicode character for non-breaking space, and it translates it to the HTML entity, NBSP, non-breaking space. And I would not have been able to guess that. StrothJ, hello. You slightly beat LG by like a few milliseconds. I'll give you both a point. You both, wow, my bot was slow there. You both found the answer for me. Thank you. Your search was U non-escaped character codes. Okay. And I just jumped straight to the technical term, which is either HTML or character entity. HTML macro probably escapes everything. What happens if you have a literal? Yeah. I would assume that they would handle like that and like, okay, escape that. But I guess I didn't expect them to handle that themselves. I guess it makes sense though, right? Because I'm not escaping it and they escape it for me. They have to understand that. Sure. Okay. I can see how it works. I can see why they did it then. To rent cross-site scripting. Exactly. Yeah. Well, we want to make sure none of this gets misinterpreted as part of other HTML tags. It's supposed to be a literal string. It's just that in React with JSX, I had to escape it myself. Oh, I gotta call someone back. Hold on. I'll be right back. All right, it was just traffic advice from Mrs. Raimu. You want to try you? Looks cool. It is pretty cool. But I wanted to double check that I did have to escape it myself, right, in React. I should have pinned it. Let's pin it this time. Playing activity. Yeah, see, I had to escape it myself. I'm wondering now if I had used a string literal there rather than making it part of the JSX flow, if it would have worked with, if this would have worked. I don't remember what the JS equivalent of putting a Unicode character directly in would be, but I wonder if JSX does the same thing. We now know that you can do that in React, but you have to translate to that when you go to U. All right. Anyway, it's all sort of a distraction because really the problem I saw right away was that this is too short. Oh, I think it's because it's sized by its child. Or I do it dynamically in the JavaScript. Let me find out which one it is. It's this stage, right? I think I dynamically sized that. Wait. Oh, I think it's by ID from the middleware. And this is what's going to be different again between you and React is that in React plus Redux, in React if you're using Redux, you're sort of urged away from putting controller code directly into the view, and so I put all the controller code as Redux middleware. So it's called stage, but this will refer to the stages by ID, I think. Yeah, here, document get element by ID stage to handle the wheel event, and then later, yeah, when we start the phaser game, we say the parent is the element that has the stage ID. Thank you for the follow. It's because you put in the string, so it use a string. Yeah, but there's no other way in you that I know of to provide the text leaf node element content other than to put them in strings. Imagine all the other things HTML escapes would also get escaped. Yeah, you're right. Pretty sure. Okay, so it must be phaser that sizes it. I think it has to do with this sets the stage width pixels to this number, right? So the tile size being 32 times 19 width and 32 times 15 height. Although this does have the proper width. I must have set that in CSS as well. Yeah, world chat width 608. Okay. So I suppose I could hack this for now and also set the height. So it would be like world height. It would be 15 times 32. 480. Okay, now where is this used? There. So it would be here, I suppose. World height. There we go. Now I have my box. I'm going to put the... Oh, what happened there? Oh, it must have reloaded. I have my box where I'm going to do my WebGL stage now. Could you recommend some resources to learn Rust? Yeah, definitely. I might even have a command for that. Learn Rust? No, maybe not. Maybe I need to have a command. Yeah, nice box. So, Rust Lang. I would just start with this. Because if you scroll down a bit, no, not scroll down, sorry. There is a get started, a big yellow get started button, right? And they'll get you to install the tools, and where was it? Maybe this isn't the right starting point. This is if you want to get straight into it. Must be the Learn tab. Yeah, this is right. This is a better link. It's the Learn tab, because it gives you 3 alternatives. You could say either read a book, go through an interactive guide, or just look at example code. And they also have links to the standard library, which I have bookmarked, which you'll see me go to sometimes. And a book just about the packaging system, a book just about how to make documentation. So it's like specialized books. And I think they also have links to like, yeah, the WebAssembly and other things. So that's probably where I would start. All right, now the challenge is to make a WebGL context in there and draw something. I have a hard stop in about 45 minutes. So what can I do in 45 minutes? Probably just look at the WebSys, the APIs in WebSys to use WebGL and see if I can figure it out. WebGL. Where's a good starting point? No problem. 2 sounds, 1 movie. Also, if you're interested in Rust for like front end stuff, another good starting point is to just Google "Are we web yet?" Right? And they'll get straight into, this isn't really an intro to Rust itself, but once you've learned a little bit about Rust, if you want to then branch off into front end development like what I'm doing today, it's Are We Web Yet has links to just about everything. So they have links to the WebAssembly, seed, and as well as the backend stuff like this. I haven't really looked into Rust backend stuff because I'm doing it all from scratch, right? But if you don't want to do it from scratch, they got a bunch of resources there. Which WebGL thing do I start with? Probably context, right? Like creating a context. Look at the alphabetized list. I'm just trying to think what the entry point would be into WebGL. Would it be WebGL event init? That sounds like something else. I thought it would be more obvious than this, but apparently it's not. It's gnarly, tens of lines to draw a triangle. Yeah, but that's, once you get that triangle, then you're like, feel really good that you've mastered OpenGL, right? Or DirectX or WebGL. They're all really basically the same. See, program probably goes with shaders. I know what a render buffer is. I know what a shader is. What's sync? I guess we can look at the MDN. Synchronize activities, okay. What if I just follow these links back to the top? WebGL, 2D and 3D graphics for the web. Okay, WebGL 2 rendering context. WebGL 2 rendering context. There we go. That's what we want. I suppose 2 is better than 1. Need the 3D context of the canvas element? Yeah. I think you're right. It says canvas here. Canvas. So that means I should probably just turn my div into a canvas, right? Might as well just get that out of the way. Thank you for that follow. I appreciate it. Playing state, let's just turn our div into a canvas. That shouldn't really affect anything functionally, right? It's recompiling, reloading. Still works. Still draws the border around it. Okay. So we have it all prepped. We just need to connect it into WebGL. Guides and tutorials. Here we go. WebGL tutorial, maybe? Good place to start if you don't have previous WebGL experience. See, I have experience in OpenGL and DirectX. So I don't know. I don't want it to be too newbie. And I've used OpenGL ES2 before as well. That's great. So it's basically based around that. Okay. Before you start, using the canvas is not difficult. Sure. Getting started. This is what we want to do. We want a context. All right, preparing it. Yes, so we do need to, well, we're doing that through CSS. It's just fine, right? How do I get sysadmins on forums to stop tricking you? Make you type sudo rm rf and broke your computer. How to get it? What? How did they make you type it? I think you're trolling me. But you did it in a nice way. You included in your message that it breaks your computer. Yeah, no one should type that in Linux. It will break your computer. Unless you don't have sudo access, and then it'll just say, hey, you're not allowed to do that. But yeah, that's basically saying delete all files in the file system. Who would want to do that, right? Okay, so I think I do need to figure out in U, and I saw a reference to this before, that there's something called a ref that allows us, after it's rendered, to get a reference to the element so that we can do this context stuff. Okay, so then I need to figure out how to do a ref in U then. Let's just use this search box. I don't need to make a new one. Weird. Okay, refs. Yeah, to get to an HTML element and get to the DOM element it's attached to, right? Because there's a it's a one-to-one, it's a rough one-to-one, but it's not the same thing. So we're giving a template for what to make, but these aren't themselves the DOM elements. This is just a template to make the DOM elements, right? So after view returns, sometime like in update, or I guess update, we would want to retrieve this element in order to call this get context on it. So we would make a node ref, and then we would do ref equals clone it, and then in the update we have access to it, but we have to cast it back to the right type. Actually, I probably don't need to cast it, right? Because, or do I need to, I guess I'll do what they do, cast it to element. Interesting. All right. What about web GPU instead of web? What's web GPU? I don't even know what web GPU is. Working name for a future web standard? I think the key would be that it's not present, it's future. It's based on Vulkan Metal and Directory D12. Okay. Is it in every browser? Both Chrome and Firefox support it with SPIR-V. What's that? Work ongoing for the front end. Safari supports. Okay, so it is supported in Chrome and Firefox. I don't know. Can you post a link if it's for web GPU? Sure. I'll definitely take a look at it. I'll give you another point too. To answer the question directly, why what about web GPU instead of WebGL? The answer, the literal answer is I didn't know that web GPU existed. But then even if I did know about it, probably I'd go with WebGL to start with, because that's closer to what I have in the production system now. I use Phaser, and Phaser uses WebGL. So it sounds interesting in new stuff. It'd be kind of like if I was doing this on desktop, would I pick OpenGL versus Vulkan? I'd probably still pick OpenGL to start with because I'm more comfortable with it. But that's not to say no to WebGPU or Vulkan. It's just I would want to do that as a separate exercise and not while I'm working on this. Is Spur V something to do with Vulkan? I had never heard of it before. Okay, you got a WGPU crate? That sounds cool. I'll definitely look at it like between streams, and if it looks really promising, I might just ditch this WebGL stuff. But hey, there's no harm in learning WebGL, even if I go with WebGPU later, right? But thank you. I'm going to stick with WebGL for now, but with the door open to possibly try out the WebGPU as well. And I could do like I did a couple of years ago, when I wasn't sure to use Phaser or Pixie. I just did them both and put them side by side and weighed the pros and cons for me, and I went with Phaser because it had audio. And it had for me, the way I was doing a better handling of sprite compositions. Like I could, what was it? I could set a group together and then move them relative to something else, and it was easier than with Pixie. Very minor point, though. Okay, so this wants me to set a ref, right? Standard portable intermediate representation. So it's the IR for graphics programming. That sounds kind of cool. That means it probably makes it easier for browsers which have to be targeted for multiple platforms and run with multiple GPUs. Sort of like a standardized, kind of like WebAssembly, right? An intermediate representation. So I need this node ref and I need to clone it. So let's call it self.stage.clone, stage ref. Call it stage ref. So that becomes part of our state. Stage ref. Node ref. Right? Assuming. Yep. Okay, and so we're going to need to create it here. Stage ref, node ref new. Is there not a new? Oh, default. Oh, ho, ho. A default without a new, huh? I read somewhere that like some Rust developers will implement default but not provide a new, and that's frowned upon. That people expect there to be a new, and if new doesn't have any arguments, you can also implement default, but you really should have default call new. They chose not to, so I can't call new, which is looks kind of weird. You're learning Rust with Actix Web. I heard U is like Vue React, but how true is that? It does not use JavaScript directly. It uses it indirectly through WASM bindgen, WebSys, and JSSys wrappers. So, but you can see it looks kind of like class-based components in React. So you have to implement an interface that U provides called component, and it basically represents the life cycle of a virtual node in the DOM. So create, update, change, where you get your props in create, and then they could be updated with change. And then the update this is the feedback mechanism in React. It would be through function objects you put directly into the DOM, but in U it's a little bit different. You have to provide a closure. So you provide a closure that emits a message that gets sent back to your update function. So little things like that are different, but other things that are similar, instead of JSX, they have a macro syntax that looks kind of like JSX, but you can see like you have to put braces around literal strings, and you use class instead of class name. So but it looks kind of like React. Yeah. Is there any performance advantage of using Rust for web applications instead of just plain JS? I'm not sure, Skay. I think it would probably depend on the situation. I would imagine you would get a performance advantage if you're doing a lot of computation in Rust, because when it's compiled to WebAssembly, it's probably a lot more efficient to do calculations in WebAssembly than it is to do the equivalent calculations in JavaScript. But that's just a guess. Now, if you're not doing a lot of calculations and you're doing a lot of things that like require dynamic typing, probably it's better to do it in JavaScript, because Rust will put this unwanted burden of strong typing that you probably get in your way if you wanted a lot of loose typing. So I think, yeah, it depends on your situation. And hello, by the way. Depends if you have to interface with JS APIs a lot. Yeah, like for example, it was a lot easier for me to do the crypto API stuff in JavaScript directly than in Rust. I could still do it in Rust, and I did it in the utilities. I guess I closed it. Utilities. But I had to go through a Rust to JavaScript abstraction layer. So instead of doing window as a property, you have to call a window function, which is in the WebSys abstraction layer. So basically WebIDL that's been automatically compiled, so to speak, into a dual Rust JavaScript shim. So and JSys is similar. Like it's a Rust crate that is a shim layer into JavaScript. So there's a translation and a marshalling step to go to it. And so the API looks a little bit different, and there are two different memory spaces conceptually. So like, for example, if I want crypto subtle to import the key, I need to give it as a JavaScript object. So that means I have to take the key and put it into a JavaScript memory space, a JavaScript array, and then I can pass it to the import function, right? So there's extra marshalling, which maybe slows it down, but who knows? Maybe it's negligible. The extra syntax to the goop, the glue, whatever you want to call it, is a price you pay. So maybe this is better in JavaScript because it looks cleaner, and maybe it's more efficient because there's less translation layer. I don't know. Still mainly interacting with the DOM is slow. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to Rust for the efficiency. I'm going to Rust because I like the language, and I can share code between the front end and the back end. All right, I can close all these things now, right? There's my ref. So I should be able to use this in update, right? They talk about using it in update, but what if I want to there's no message on initial update, is there? Some frameworks will have like an on initial update that's always sent to you immediately after create. I don't think there is one. We might have to add one ourselves. Oh, hey, kitty. How are you? Hi. You want food? Might have to take a break to feed the cat. He's just yelling at me. Do you want to say hi to chat? I don't know. Yeah, the beast. Wow. She's going, wow, wow. Here, I'll go grab him. Just a second. Let me introduce you guys to Casper. Yeah, you gotta look at the camera, Casper. It's over there. Yeah, right there. Yeah. I know you're interested in everything else. Say hi. Kitty, yeah. But mainly a Python dev for the last decade, so you're starting a journey having alternative to Flask, which depending on task. I think it's always a good idea to try new things, try different languages, different frameworks. He is a good kitty. Yes, I agree. Okay, so I'm going to need a home for this code that calls get context. And it has to be in an update because that's where we can use the ref, right? So I think I need to force an initial update. So let's define something called, in the message called like initial update or something, or initialized. How about init? Why not, right? And then we'll just arrange for it to be emitted right away in create, because we can do that. I think. We'll find out. If I'm wrong, I'll have to look this up. Where am I looking? Right here. So I think I can do this dot link, actually just link dot callback. It needs a function that creates a message. So I can just make an empty function, right? Call it message init. Like that, right? And now, wait a minute, what? Oh, callback dot emit, right? Oh, it's the other way around. It's callback and put that there. Oh, right. It's that I have to emit something. So why don't I can just do that, right? I have to, oh, it's already been put into there. Okay, this dot link. Okay. Do I even need that then? I do. Because it has one argument by specification, right? There is some input, even if it's just unit, and emit always takes that same input. So we don't actually need an argument, so unit it is. So then in init, I can put it here, right? Message init. Let's just make a function for all this, so like init. And then it's sort of separated out of this, so I can, yeah, put it here. Let's collapse these because they're getting in the way. Function init, mute self. Okay, so this said to get, okay, I need to get it, the ref. So it's this junk. What's this has attributes junk? Okay, I just need part of that, right? Let stage equal self stage ref cast to element unwrap, right? Element is websys. Okay, and then I'm guessing, and then I can do get context. I don't think it's working. Oh, I have to say it's a canvas. I guess. I can't say canvas. How do I guess I have to look in WebGL. How do I get a canvas? Element. Canvas element, okay. Is it HTML canvas element? Okay. Thank you. LG. Do you still do pixel art with Asprite? Yeah. And Devilish Danny. I haven't done a lot of pixel art recently, though. But if I were to do pixel art, I'd use Asprite. What else did I miss? You look very different to the guy in the YouTube videos. Make sure you're in the right Twitch channel. How different do I look? Because my hair is getting long. My signature look is this half gray beard these days. That's not changing much. But my hair varies from short to long based off of when Mrs. Raimu gets a chance to cut it. Hell, a lot more than Lisp, Ruby, etc. Not exactly quarantine hair because Mrs. Raimu can cut it, but yeah, maybe a little bit. There's not such an urgency to get it cut because not meeting as many people. Okay, so canvas. Oh, it was HTML canvas element, right? Yeah. Is it HTML canvas element? What am I getting wrong here? Web sys HTML canvas element. Oh, I know why. I keep running into this. It's because it's gated by a feature. Yeah. I just need to read more closely. Read, dang it. RTFM, right? I need to enable that in as a feature. The HTML class element. This string is getting quite long. I might want to go to the alternate syntax where I can have one line per feature. Now it should be able to import it, yeah, and I should have a get context as well, I hope, right? I don't have a get context. What's the type on it? HTML canvas element. And what can I do with an HTML canvas element? Oh, it's a get underscore context. And I'm not gonna get help from autocomplete because it's not going to be it's not going to show up here. It's all extern seed. Get context takes a string. The string is going to be Webgl. And that can be null. Okay. Null is what? It's, okay, we could get an error, and okay, null will probably be none. So unwrap. So let Webgl context equal that. C# is like Brian Cantil. The normal length is 2x speed. C# is screaming. Oh, if Java was verbose, C# is screaming. So on the YouTube vids for Sprite, you have like long hair. Oh no, Devilish Danny, you're thinking about Adam C. Eunice, probably. I am a moderator in Adam C. Eunice's channel. He uses Sprite all the time. He's a big time pixel artist in Twitch, I think. You're probably thinking of him. He produces YouTube videos that use Sprite. They're very nice. I highly recommend them. Yeah. He's got the luxurious long black hair. My hair is always short usually. Well, shorter. Yeah, drop him a follow. He'll probably be on later. Sometimes when I stream really late, I intersect with his streaming time and I'll raid him, but that's only happened like 3 or 4 times. Okay, what do I do with this Webgl context now? I guess we can just, instead of unwrap, we can say if let sum. Else, I think the kitty wants something. I'll go see what the kitty wants. After I do something like, let's just see if we got it. Hooray, we got a Webgl context. Warn. Boo. We could not get a Webgl context. Feels bad, man. And yeah, let's just run with this. Let's just see if I did enough to get a context. Login as admin. Did we get one? Hooray, we got a Webgl context. Beast demands a sacrifice. Yeah, I think he's demanding something. The thing with the Beast is his health is declining, and so I have to kind of watch him a little bit more closely, and feed him a little bit more often, and do a bunch of other stuff that is delicate. So if he needs something, then I might need to go check him out. Yeah, well, he's like 16 and a half years old. Cats don't live very long compared to humans. Like they only live like 1/4 to 1/3 the lifespan that we have, right? So yeah, he's been a good kitty for many years. He deserves some extra attention. He's like an old man, equivalent of an old man, but in cat form. If he were able to what's the word? Like transmute himself into a human, he'd be like an old man walking with a cane. Okay, is there anything I can quickly do with this Webgl context? Or maybe I just check this in as a good starting point. Oh, great. I got a scam text. My account will be locked. Update billing information in https:/very sketchy website. And they misspelled update. This is what they texted to me. Your account will be locked. Update information billing in here. Yeah, I'm sure that's legit, don't you? Your account will be locked. Update it here. Sketchy website. Yeah. Is it information billing? No, it's update. Yeah, it's update information billing in here. Uh-huh. I trust that too. I'm sure I'll have to totally log in. No. Makes me think of Kitboga. You want to see him waste the time of the people who just sent me the text message? You check out his channel sometime. Actually, this is great. I can just clear it to like a nice pleasant color. I think that's what I'm going to do. So clear color, clear. I'll shamelessly steal this for a second. And I'm guessing this will probably only really work if I hold on to the context, right? So these, I'm guessing, are snake cased. They are not. I probably need to pull in another feature, right? Oh, I get an object. Well, how do I use that object then? Do I cast that the same way I cast the other things? Yeah, how do we get that? Can I construct it from an object? There's a lot of methods of this thing. Where would I start searching for this? There's just a ton of methods. Maybe there's a from object in here. Oh, there we go. From JS value for rendering context. From for object. Is there an into? Look at this source. Oh, it's in bindgen. I'm guessing I gotta do a from. So option web GL to rendering context. I'm guessing I gotta pull in yet another feature for this, right? Yep. So back to my cargo toml I go. All right. Hey, Seth. Recently got a first job as a software engineer. Good job. Although I don't have any technical skills, it's pretty solid logical wise. Yeah, that's all you really need. Only done CRUD-like projects in Python and Node.js. Could you recommend something for you to focus on? Concepts books. If you got your job, then your job is your number one source of learning more technical skills. I would heavily leverage your teammates at the job you're at, unless you're working solo, and then let's see. You say software engineer doing CRUD and Python and Node.js, maybe something like what is it? Free Code Camp? Free Code Camp. This one has like a lot of different technical areas that you can study, that they have like guided study in. So maybe something like that. That's sort of like the go-to site that I point people to if like they just want to branch out and learn some new technical stuff, especially if it's web-based. LeetCode? Yeah, LeetCode's a good one too. All right, I guess this is a bad syntax, isn't it? I guess I can do something like this. Let GL equal GL, which is a web context, equals GL. Import, whoops, wrong key. Import that. No, I can't import that. Why not? Cannot find it in WebSys. Oh, am I misspelling it? I am misspelling it. It's lowercase l. All right, but it looks like we can't convert it from an object directly, so into. We can't go from an object, but can we? But I can go from a JS value. So what? I just do a JS value wrapper for the object? Any specific material you recommend about fundamentals? Yeah, I think what Dr. Maruki was saying is good. Because at those sites like LeetCode, they have like a ton of example algorithms and challenges so to help you learn them. So, yeah. Thank you for that follow, by the way. Now, I have a problem here because GL is a object, and I need it to be a JS value, which JS value can be an object, but it could be other things too. Do I do like let GL JS value equals GL into first? The two-step into? JS value is from Wasm BindGen. Okay, that works. I have to do two intos then. Interesting. All right, then there's no color. Oh, that probably it's slightly renamed, right? Color buffer bit. Oh, but it's in the class, not the instance. Yeah, so it's slightly different. I gotta do that. It's a public const. So no, that would be right? Hold on, why is it not letting me use it? No field on the rendering context, but it's there. Does it, you have to do the class : Okay. It implements from for object. It didn't work. I had to do it. It was only from JS value. It didn't look like it had a from object. It had a from for JS value, but not object. From. Yeah, they have a from for JS value, but not object. Otherwise, that's what I would have done, right? I had to go through JS value first, and then I can get to, it started out as an object. I had to go through JS value to get to the context. I don't know why. What color are they trying to set me to here? Black. I don't want black. I want a nice green. So like maybe a little bit of the other colors to make it not so saturated. Let's see what that looks like. And actually, I'm going to assume for now that I need to hold on to it. So GL, let's just do stage. GL is option rendering context. And then after doing this, we'll just say self.that.replace GL, just to hold on to it. I think we need to hold on to it, otherwise it won't work. And when we create it, down here, we'll need to GL say we don't have one yet. Oops. R comes before S. All right. Yeah, LG, isn't it kind of weird? It should be able to do it from object directly. Kind of weird that it doesn't. Unless we're missing something, right? Okay, so I shouldn't get a nice green square now? Oh, look at that nice green square. Ah, it's a WebGL green square. I think this deserves a check-in. It's a fundamental step. I have a WebGL context. I never had one of these before. It's sweet. So add WebGL stage to playing activity. Commit that. All right, getting closer. So there actually isn't a whole lot more I need to do besides get the graphics in there. Well, actually, no, there's more. I need to get the graphics in. I need to import it into a texture in WebGL, and then I need to write the shader to render the quads for the tiles, and to pick it from the right shader based off of the tile index and all that stuff. So it's gonna be a bunch of work, isn't it? Yeah, you can turn it into an object, but not the other way around, which is kind of weird, don't you think? You would think it'd be reversible. Okay, actually as a test, I think what I'd like to do is see what happens if we don't store the context. My guess is it will just vanish. If we don't do that, I'm guessing that this will only momentarily show, but then this will end up dropping the context, which then makes it vanish. Oh no, it's still there. Interesting, but it's leaked, right? Something is rendering that square. But we have no handle to it. All right. A nice opaque green. Show a nice opaque green background for now. To do. Use this context to render the world, game world. All right. Actually, I guess I can continue with their tutorial because we have a context we can play around with now. See, I don't know why they went with a black box, because you don't really know the difference if you're in, I guess, okay, they must be assuming that you're in light mode, because if you're in dark mode, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between a black square and then not having the context at all, right? Next. You can start rendering to it. We can draw a simple square untextured plane by building code to draw a square plane, drawing the scene. Okay, yeah, they want us to write a simple vertex shader probably, right? Yes. Okay, why are they going to this right away? That's just silly. You want this for a 3D space because projection implies you're going from one number of dimensions to another, so 3D to 2D, which you do to draw it on the screen. But we don't need that for our intro, right? And the model view, why separate them this early in the game? Why not just go to GL position is vertex position? I always get hung up on that when people teach OpenGL and then they throw in this junk. This is unnecessary. They should do this after you get something to draw on the screen. They're like, "Oh, hooray! You drew a rectangle or a triangle. How about now? Let's introduce the concept of the separation between model space and view space. And once you get that down, then it's like, okay, now we're going to go to 3D by introducing a projection matrix." They ought to do it in steps. Canvas is drawing that? Yes. Context is just for imperatively manipulating what's drawn on the canvas. I was thinking it might be like in other graphics libraries where if you drop the context, you're actually destroying the... What is it? You're destroying the glue code between the CPU and the GPU. And so the GPU would not even show the pixels at all. And it would no longer be a graphics... 3D graphics. But I'm wrong. Instead, I guess it just hangs around attached to the canvas, and we're just borrowing a reference to it. So it makes me think, like, if we wanted to destroy the context, maybe they have a destroy context in here somewhere. Or detach or something. Yeah, it makes me wonder, like, once you've created the context, how do you destroy it? Like, if I wanted to turn the or can you? Maybe you can't. Maybe once you've gotten a GL context into a canvas, you keep it until the canvas gets destroyed. I don't know. I guess we'll get there. I'm just learning. Yeah, this is as simple as you can get, right? A fragment shader that says, draw a white dot. Quick, really, really high level intro to shaders is that vertex shader translates a set of data points into the vertices, like geometry for a shape to draw. And so, like, the most elemental thing would be like a triangle. So that means you have you know, in the most elemental form, you'd have 3 points in space, or 3 points in the window that you want to connect as a triangle, and you give the vertex shader an input with those 3 points, so it's 3 sets of coordinates. And the vertex shader, if you just ignore the projection and model view matrix, because that's extra. If it's just take the vertex position and assign it to this special variable, that just says, draw the shape connected by those points. And what the vertex shader does internally then is it rasterizes that. It turns the shape into a bunch of horizontal lines, and then for those horizontal lines, that's just a sequence of pixels, right? So that sequence of pixels is then sent one by one to the fragment shader. It can be parallelized, but just in a simple understanding of it, every pixel from every raster line, every line of a shape is given to the fragment shader to say, what color should I draw here? So there's this GL position, starts out as just the corners of the shape, like the triangle, but then it gets converted into a very long list of positions, one for every single pixel on the screen. And each of those is passed one by one to this same fragment shader. So this runs a billion times a second, right? And the fragment shader's assignment is just, given this point, what color do I draw? And if you just use a constant, then it's just going to have your triangle be a solid white or a solid whatever, right? And then everything proceeds from there. Is if you wanted something that wasn't a solid color, then you would set the color based off of the position in the window of that dot, right? And if a more elaborate vertex shader would do things like uh, like what this is showing, transform coordinates in some other space, like 3D space, into how do you want to show it on the screen. So projection matrix is a coordinate transformation matrix. Basically, if you multiply an input position by a projection matrix, then you're saying, well, it's going from like some kind of 3D space, like a world space, to where should it show on the screen. So the things that go into calculating the projection matrix are the how many cameras you have, and which orientation the camera has, how much is it zoomed in, all those things go into this projection matrix. Model view matrix is a similar thing. It's transforming between, let's say, where on a particular character model the point is, to placing where that model is in space. And so that's done first, and then and then we translate it to where to show it on the screen. So it's like, take the position on the character model, say, well, where does that translate to? Where is it in space based off of where the model is? And then where it is in space goes to where it's on the screen by where the camera is pointing. So I don't know why they're showing all this at once, but maybe because they figure you'll end up needing it later. But yeah. A lot of what I'm going to be doing will be in the fragment shader, where we'll pick the color to use based off of the tile map. So let me show the tile map that we use in the game. Oh, I got a hard stop now. I got to leave in 10 minutes. So it's just going to be a just talking stream for the next 5 minutes. Public. I have like tiles. How about like NPCs? So here's a tile map, right? And you would give this as a texture, basically a whole image that the fragment shader would have access to, and the fragment shader would say, well, given a point in the window and some other parameters like which tile to draw, it would pick out which color from picking it out of the texture. So if we wanted to draw a green slime, we would end up giving the fragment shader. It would be called 32 times 32 times to draw the pixels that go with the rectangle that the vertex shader would have generated. And we would also give the fragment shader the parameter that we want to draw starting from this corner, right? So we would take the pixel position it got, and also the offset from the corner of the texture to the corner of the green slime, and would pick out the colors from there. So, basically sampling the texture to draw the tile we want. And that's what we're doing in this system. That's how these guys get drawn. So I'll have to get this imported into WebGL as a texture, and then I'll have to write a shader that draws a tile based on which one we want to select. And I'll have to have at least a little minimal vertex shader to draw all of these squares, because the vertex shader sees this as just a bunch of squares, right? And then translate those squares, I guess, yeah, to show them in this context in the right space, because we go from -1 to +1 in each dimension. But internally, we know that we're doing pixel art, so we want the pixels to be 1-to-1. So we'll have to know that the screen, the world width, it really is 608, and the height is really 480. So that number conversion we'll do in like the vertex shader. So it'll be fun. I won't be able to get to it today because I got to run. I think I want to do that next though, because this sounds like a ton of fun. I'm just gonna check this in for now, which I already did, right? And then I got to run, unfortunately. Thank you for the follow. I think next time we'll be playing with WebGL, so hopefully it'll be fun. So this is just a quick update. So update comments about the WebGL stuff to be done. Push that, and let me go raid someone because I gotta run. I'm sorry, my friends. Wish that the stream could be longer, but I got commitments. Let's see who's streaming now we can raid. Okay, so maybe someone different. How about we rate Oh Bother? His stream isn't software, but it's really fascinating. It's usually tinkering with hardware, with maybe some software occasionally. But he's a really fun stream to watch, I think. Especially if you're into like tinkering with electronics, making robots, that kind of thing. He's got a laser that burns your name into a block of wood if you sub to his channel. So interesting guy. Always fun. So I'm gonna rate him. Gonna start this raid off. I should be back next week. Maybe a weekend stream. We'll see. Probably not, but hopefully next week. I will see you guys then. Take care as always, and enjoy Oh Bother. I'm sure you'll have a fun time there. And yeah, see you next time. Bye.